Well, hello and welcome to all of our viewers around the world. I'm Fiona Lang Sharp, IBCLC Director of Communications and MC here at Gold Learning. Well, I'm very excited. It is come around again so quickly is our Gold Neonatal Conference 2025. So it's very exciting that we're bringing so many professionals together who are working in the NICU, the neonatal units, and support people as well in this journey for so many. It has been many years that we've been working on this particular conference, and year after year, not only do we have such successful attendees, the feedback is amazing, but I have to say that our presenters are fantastic. Naomi Bar-Yam is here with us today. Naomi, this is not your first time, of course, here at Gold, and we're absolutely delighted to have you back once again. You are going to be speaking to handling human milk in the NICU policies, practice, and parental guidance. So thank you once again for being with us here today.
It is a pleasure. Good to be back.
So tell me, so this topic, I'm just going to read it again because what strikes me about this topic is, okay, so how do we not know what is still going on in this area? So handling human milk in the NICU, policies, practice, and parental guidance. Is this something that you're just updating us on? Is it all going well? Like, what are the parameters around this topic these days? Is there still lots to learn? Do we still need to put lots in place? Or as you would think, are we, have we got it all going on now in the NICU? What is happening in this area?
So the good news is that it's indeed um, more both donor milk and mom's own milk in the NICU are pretty much standard of care in most
Right.
places.
Hmm.
But there's always ongoing research and always new information. And there's also a new generation of neonatal providers
Right.
who need updating on the information and how do we take care of the milk, how do we make sure that the milk is safe, how do we communicate with parents about, I think, some of the issues that arise, the concerns that parents have also shifted over the years.
Right.
And so we'll be doing some kind of talking about what some of those shifts are and what parents seem to be concerned about now, that they, things that they were concerned about 15 years ago, that the good news is they're not concerned about now. There are other things
Yeah.
that they worry about. So it'll be both an update and new for some people, I would imagine.
Exciting. Well, that's awesome. I don't think there's been a time that I haven't learned from you, to be honest. This really is the area that, you're such a great specialist in this area and many more, but this area, I feel like I'm always learning. And it always strikes me that, maybe my ego gets in the way a little bit because I think, well, I know so much. But truly, you understand this so well. So can you tell me, working with those people, so we have a generation of myths, understandings and different things that are associated with particularly working in the NICU and human milk and how we handle it and all those types of things. So perhaps can you tell me one thing that you wish that more NICU providers really understood about supporting parents using donor milk?
I think the most important thing, and this has not changed, um, is is to really, in a deep way, for support people who support parents in the NICU, in a deep way to understand that our goal is for donor milk clearly to get food to the babies who need it, but also to understand that our goal is that this is a bridge and that it is
Hmm.
not a long-term solution for the babies, and that our goal is not to switch from donor milk to formula because the baby has aged out whatever the policy is in the hospital,
Right.
but to switch to mom being able to feed her own baby. And we
Mm,
if we understand that in a deep way, then we think about how we interact with parents and what our policies and procedures are in the NICU very differently than if we either think a donor milk is going to go on forever or that we're just going to switch to formula and everything's fine.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can see how it just is sort of, yeah, you can trip up a situation very, very quickly there. Talk to me about collaboration in the NICU today, because it strikes me that 10, 15, 20 years ago, we didn't have as many professionals actually maybe working with neonates in the NICU. There certainly seems to be a whole, different range of, professionals, which is fantastic, that come in and everything from, speech language to occupational therapists to sensory care and all those types of things. So, talk to me about collaboration and what that looks like now, because now you're not just directing information just to perhaps neonatologists and nurses, but you're really working with a whole range of people that, maybe come in once in a while to NICU, but then perhaps also follow up with them at home. How are we making sure that the messaging is consistent with those people? And what can we do in order to enhance, communication with them in this area as well?
Good question, and I think that's been part of my learning curve. This is a talk that I've given aspects of before, but it's been a couple of years, and there's always new things for me to learn as well. And over the last couple of years, I've been working on kind of other projects, related projects, but I've learned a lot from and about, for example, speech and language, people who are pathologists, speech therapists, who work. What do you need a speech therapist for in a NICU? Or a long way from
Right.
speaking.
Yeah.
Um, but these are people who spend their lives studying how babies swallow and how we can. And
Hmm.
for a NICU baby, for a very early baby, that's a learned behavior. That's not something that they can necessarily do when they're first born at 28 or 30 weeks. And so learning both from them about what are the things that they think about when they work with a baby, but also the way to collaborate is really to include all of those people in. I hope some of them are on this talk,
Right.
and that they are, the field of lactation consulting and peer counseling, all of those fields have advanced hugely, and their roles in the NICU have
Mm,
changed over the last number of years. And so we're learning new ways and new professionals to involve in this conversation, not only in talking with parents, but also in setting policies in the hospital.
right.
It really needs to be a very broad conversation because everybody brings something to the table.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting how it's almost like it feels like it's not fractured because that there's a lot more collaboration, but I feel like the messaging could get fractured, or even watered down to a point, Naomi, where if information is just being passed on instead of potentially education being
Right.
part of their roles and responsibilities. That's what I would love to see, because I know so many people like you do, incredible, passionate people that love breastfeeding and breast milk, but what else could they do in order to, become of great value to, especially in the donor milk area, right? Which is really still underutilized, undersubstantiated in so many areas. I want to
Right.
see that. Okay.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. And learning, it's both learning the vocabulary of these and the framework within which they do their work.
Right.
And that involves us who work in different areas being able to hear it, and also, just like I and those of us who work in lactation have to figure out, how do we explain what we do and what our concerns are, and how do they explain to us, so that at some level, when we're setting policy, when we're thinking about how we want to do things in the hospital, how do we make sure that when we use these words we understand the same thing by them? And that takes time, and it takes
Right.
practice, and it takes
Yeah.
having meetings together, and having dinner together, and chuckling and
It's
laughing
true.
about it, and
Yeah.
just that's all part of this ongoing. Collaboration has to be at multiple levels, and we have to really think consciously and carefully about how to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk about the families for a moment too. How much should we be engaging them, maybe at this higher level, or, when it looks at policy or practice, or, what opportunities might we have with families to educate them, at that level of the value behind this? Is it appropriate? Could we do it? One of the things, and I'll just say that one of the things that, I noticed with families is that they also suffer from this inconsistent messaging right the way along, and that's been around forever. You and I could have, seen that
Right.
25, 30 years ago, right?
Yep.
And so they're still seeing it today. So what is it that we could potentially do? Like, what are we going to learn that is going to help us communicate to families?
I think a really important piece of this is to think, first of all, every family is different and has different, you know, just like just like speech pathologists and lactation consultants and nurses have slightly different vocabularies, so do parents. They all come from different spaces. I think one of the things that's really important, um, for us to realize is that it's not just about us educating the parents. It's also about us as the professionals allowing ourselves to be educated by the parents.
Mm,
They know
mm,
these kids, they know the
right,
assumptions that they are coming with, and they may not even be able to communicate them because that's the thing about assumptions. We don't really know the assumptions. And that's not mainly that's a whole different talk, but that's not but I will
right.
touch on that in this talk, um, is really to to again, think deeply about what it means for parents to be members of the care team
Mm.
and not
Oh,
visitors.
yes.
When my child, almost 35 years ago now, was in the NICU, um, we were treated as the parents as guests. We signed a little
Right.
guest book when we came into the
Yes.
NICU, and even at the time, I was like, "No, no, no, no. You're not that's not how this works."
Mhm.
They are not guests. They are part of the care team. They see things that we don't. They understand things that we don't. And we have things to offer that they don't know. And so that's why we need to really bring them in fully into their child's care. And for that to be an ongoing conversation in the NICU and not with NICU staff usually, but that needs to translate itself also to whoever is going to be involved in the care of the baby once they get home, whether it's early intervention in the United States or a visiting nurse or whoever it is. They are a part of this team, and we can't do it without them.
Ooh, ooh, those words. They definitely ring true for me, and I can see, there's such value in trying to achieve that because I think that, I think everyone is in this for good intentions. Honestly, every time I meet someone, I know that they're here for the right reasons. But is it being put into practice? Can we do it on the daily? What does that one family, one at a time look like? So there's definitely lots to learn here.
And we have to
Now,
keep revisiting it
yeah,
because you're
right?
right. We
Yeah,
fall into patterns, and we have to
yeah.
keep ourselves and one another accountable.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And I think that means really good communication with, within our teams, with ourselves, and keeping up to date. Naomi, thank you. You always bring such wisdom here as part of our gold event. I appreciate that. So, again, your topic, handling human milk in the NICU, policies, practice, and parental guidance. There is a lot to unpack here, and I'm going to look forward to having you back for our full presentation over on our Gold Neonatal website. So, thank you once again for being with us here today, and of course, sitting down with me. I'll just tell folks that you can register for our event right now over on goldneonatal.com. Naomi is going to be here with us for a live presentation, which gives you access to actually sit down and chat with her as well through our live Q&A. Throughout the presentation, she's going to be educating us on not only this topic, but of course, all that nuanced behavior that we talked about today and all the wisdom that she's been bringing to this field for a very long time. No, Naomi, thank you again for being with us here today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
And thank you to all of your viewers. We'll look forward to seeing you online over on goldneonatal.com. Thank you again, everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye bye for now, everyone.